And last year, Kevin kind of put the whisper in my ear about a much bigger project that we've kind of been working on. And if anybody's kind of watched our work over the last 18 months ish, they've seen like I've provided Kevin with a lot of collaborative projects, a lot of video assets. We've been cranking on YouTube, but we see a lot of value because both of us are working. It's very rare to find two guys that are driven, motivated, and actually get shit done. And so here, within maybe a month-ish from this podcast launching, we're going to launch DeerHunter Gear. And I'm going to let Kevin fully explain some of what we got going on.
And so I was like, yeah, all right, and so we manufactured a hoodie last year. So I've had a partner with my show for, probably since 2020, I guess, 5-6 years. I've had this partner out of Minnesota, WSI, who specializes in cold weather athletic layering. So they do the base layers for like the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, college football, all of that cold weather base layer stuff that you see these athletes wearing in these big playoff games. A lot of it, majority of it, is manufactured by WSI Sports. And they just kind of do their thing and they fly under the radar. But I'd had a partnership with them through a mutual friend. And then just over the years, I got to know the owner of the company and built a pretty good relationship with him. And then 2 years ago, they approached me about sitting on their design panel for their hunting gear stuff.
Oh, interesting.
And so myself and another individual started joining them with their team meetings on their hunting gear. And within a year, they were, I think maybe Joel said something about, they did like 40% better the next year with the hunting line. Because, they were getting some insight from people that are actually utilizing the product in the field. Before, it was more of a, they were making the things to try to throw them out there and see if they'd stick, right? And that's just,
right.
Hunters don't accept that. Hunters want stuff that works.
Right.
So, that evolved into me approaching him about making some of our own pieces. And then also at the same time, I had been working with another designer on the camo pattern, which Byron has on right now. I wanted this digital macro breakup for sitting in trees basically in November after the leaves have come off, and I got Michigan whitetail does walking around doing this, and so many of the patterns just they're not macro enough. There's a lot of attention to detail. They look sweet because the focus is these got to look awesome on the shelves and on the hangers and on the photos, and we need to move a lot of these. And cosmetic appeal, or how the garment appeals to the person, is still the number one factor in why people buy product. Like they like it. It looks
it's
good.
Like the neon green fishing lure. Nobody's ever seen a neon green fish.
Yeah. So whatever the consumer is kind of drawn to, the company will kind of lean that way, right? Because you want to sell product. I thought we could probably cross both hurdles, and intersect and make a pattern that looked appealing to people, but also would at the core be functional. So it's even open up more through the middle to almost like break you in half a little bit. If people start to notice, it's hard to see right here.
Right. I see what you mean though.
Yeah, the center of this garment is actually even more open, and it's just to break up that big macro image of you. And people will see when we start to put photo assets out in the fall, when the garment is actually out in its true environment. That like those fall days where all the trees are gray and there's hardly a leaf and there's not much to hide behind and you're out there in the trees. Like, I think that this pattern will do as good of a job as anything that's, you know, been available to bow hunters, gun hunters in the past. And so I was working on the pattern and we started making some pieces and guys started getting them and guys liked them and we liked them. And I've always been a technical layering enthusiast. So I've typically deferred to like a lot of Western gear over the course of the last decade, because the way I hunt, you know, we hike into places, we're climbing up and down trees. Josh, you do a lot of the same stuff, right? It's like 10%, 20% of what you're going to do during the day is going to be an somewhat athletic endeavor. I'm going to have to hike some weight, maybe up a hill, get to a tree, climb a tree, not get super sweaty and gross, but then also might have to sit 4, 5, 6 hours in the cold. So having a technical layering system that's made specifically kind of for that endeavor, I found myself using a lot of Western pieces. But none of them were actually even perfect. And maybe 2 years ago, I was out in the woods and I was looking at myself and I was like, I look like a mess. I had 13 different companies' stuff on because I just defaulted to how the fit and function. Like the cosmetic look of it meant nothing to me because I know it doesn't mean anything to the deer for the most part, right? I want to be warm and comfortable, and I want to be quiet, and I don't want to be fidgety. And when I get cold, I feel like I'm fidgety, and when I'm fidgety, I'm not quiet. And I feel like it's just always a recipe for disaster. And so I kind of been joking the last couple of years saying, if I'm not going to be comfortable, I'm not going to go. You know, I am not Dan in fault, like sitting out there in a snowstorm with a ball cap and a long sleeve shirt on. And yeah, I thought I was going to die, but I didn't. And I'm okay. You know, I'm like, no, man, I'm going to, you could just get a couple things and you could be real comfortable.
Yeah.
So
like, Dan would lose those things.
I had 2 bins, 2 of the big Rubbermaid bins of clothes, you know, you name it, I had it. And I just kept boiling those down. And maybe you can attest to this. You're younger than me, but you know, you're talking about getting older and less stuff like about the cameras too. I'll give Dan credit for this because he said this to me years ago. He goes, "You bring a lot of shit," and it does distract you from what you're actually doing. And when you start to realize, I really don't need a lot of this, that's where we spent a lot of time in kind of developing the key pieces to get the system up and going. Is like, these are actually some scaled down, like not a lot of bells and whistles, so that the cost could be affordable. But the material builds are good. The durability is good. The pockets are where you need them. Put some extra material in the upper thigh, the leg. So like when you sit in the tree stand, it doesn't pull tight on your upper thigh and instantly your thighs are getting cold with the core, you know, cold air coming down on them. I actually put pockets on the thighs too, so you can put like the heat warmer things on there. So for tree stand cattle guys, will work good too. But specifically for tree stand guys, if you're sitting there, you know, your tops of your legs are always the first thing to get cold because your pants pull tight on them. So
or like you put a tailored back in the hoodie, so if you lean forward as you're in the tree stand, you don't get the wind up the back.
Yeah,
like I've been. It was funny when Kevin asked me about this project. I said, Kev, I sat in a meeting with the chief manager over the clothing line I was currently representing, and no way that guy could have read a topo map. Like, let's just get that straight. And I was like, why did you not put a piss zipper in your bibs for this year? Like, did you never go to the woods and hunt for more than 3 hours and need to take a piss? Like, there's stuff like that. And that clothing company is probably one of the biggest in the space. I will guarantee it. But a lot of these clothing companies lack what the weekend warrior, what the public land guy, what we go through on a regular basis with hiking in, hanging a stand, okay, now it's time to sit in the dark for 45 minutes. And I think with WSI being so specialized, they're literally designing specific garments for Lamar Jackson. I'm pretty sure those guys are going to wizard up some pretty cool aspects into the deer woods. So, yeah, there are a few things that I'm like, we're going to get this right. And that's just due to a lot of what Kevin just touched on in the field experience and some of those aspects.
Yeah, when I was over at the facility last week, we were doing some final fit checks on things and getting ready to go into production. And Joel just casually hands me this thing. He's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm making this for Bill Belichick. And here, check out this hand warmer thing. This is a thing we made for Tom Brady." And I'm just like, man,
That's pretty cool.
So, that is, it kind of made it to a point where I felt I had to take a chance and try to do it because, like, I have the help, we have the vendor, we have the need for the item, all the advancement that's been the last 10, but maybe even more specifically, the last 5 years in saddles, ropes, sticks, platforms. Like, there's a real technical mobile hunter that's doing things a little bit differently than what maybe was done historically. And I don't think I haven't seen or found a piece of clothing that's really matched that perfectly. So like I said, I had this hodgepodge going of, like, I took, I use the example of 1,000. Like, I took 1,000 items and boiled it down to 100 and then boiled that down to 10. And it's like, these are the 10 key pieces that you really need to get started. Yep. And then next year, I'd like to produce a couple insulated layers. But essentially what we're launching with right now is a pair of bamboo. It's a bamboo blend boxer brief. And they're actually sweet. So I've been wearing these underwear for like years, and they're the most comfortable. They dry really fast. They don't stretch out. They're bamboo, so they're antimicrobial, so they don't grow bacteria. They don't get smelly. Like, it's crazy. I work in the trades. Like, I'm a grown man,
Kev, they make your pecker look bigger and you get lucky 10% more often.
I got bamboo underwear on as we're speaking right now.
Do you?
Yeah.
So so we got a pair of bamboo boxer briefs. We're gonna have a wool blend sock. We're gonna have a base layer top and bottom. A pair of micro fleece soft shell pants. We're gonna have a micro fleece soft shell hoodie, and then we're also gonna have the hand muff. The hand warmer.
Key piece of gear for every deer hunter.
Key piece of gear. The gloves is something that I'm maybe the most excited about. We're going to have a pair of gloves that are going to fit and function real good for bow and gun hunters. A neck gaiter. And
what about the bald guy special?
We're going to have a couple hats. So we're going to have, and I'm also going to have like we'll call it to a light to mid-weight quarter zip, long sleeve quarter zip.
Well, you guys got a pretty good lineup. That's quite a bit of stuff, really.
Yeah, it is.
What about the hat liner? Because that's something that I think a lot of guys, especially that 30-plus crowd that might be losing their hair, I think there's a huge win there.
Yeah, so for years I've been using these super thin merino wool beanies. Mm-hmm. I wear them underneath of my warm hat. And it's essentially your hat or your head. I don't know what the actual statistic is, but they say you lose a big percentage of your body heat through your head.
Yeah.
And that's certainly accurate. What that percentage is, I don't know. But the theory of having a base layer and then no one ever has a base layer on their head where you're losing arguably a good percentage of your heat. So I started using these super thin merino wool hats. And then I started noticing, well, I could wear one of those to the tree and sweat that up and chuck it in my bag and then put another one on that's like bone dry. and then put my warm hat on over that. And historically, a lot of those warm hats have like acrylic and some other stuff in them it's really warm, but it makes your head itch. Like, I mean, if you're on a 2 or 3 day hunt at a camp and you don't have a shower and you're wearing one of those hats, your head gets pretty funky and your hat gets pretty funky. So we're going to have a 3-pack. We call them a hat liner, but we're doing it out of the bamboo material. So it'll be microbial, it'll dry super fast. We're going to sell a 3-pack of them, hopefully for somewhere between 30 and $40 for like a 3-pack of them. They'll last you years. And you'll be able to have that on when you're commuting to and from or whatever. You sweat it up, you chuck it in your bag, you grab another one. But you know, it could be worn on its own during early season. Guys will utilize it all different ways. But for me specifically, if I'm going cold weather hunting, I'm going to have one of those. And then whatever my cold weather hat of choice is goes over that. And I've rocked that system for years, and I hunt in some pretty cold. You know, I'll hunt in. I've hunted before. I've sat for, you know, an all day sit in 5 below. So I've hunted some pretty cold temperatures, and I know what will allow you to stay out there and tolerate that, and what fails under those conditions. So we won't have all the cold weather stuff ready to go this year. It's going to be a big haul, and next year we'll do insulated pieces. So we'll have an insulated jacket, and then we'll have an insulated pair of pants that you can pull right on and over. You know, once you get to your tree, if it's real cold, it'll almost be like a pair of puffy pants.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to pull that right over your soft shell pants, and you're essentially going to have like a snowsuit on by the time you're said and done with it. You'd be able to sit up there in the teens, and you know, if you're hunting for a couple hours in the evening, which late season, that's what a lot of guys do, right? They're hunting the last couple hours a night anyway, right? So you're not sitting all day. You could take some lighter weight stuff and be real comfortable. So the system that we're putting out is all pieces that I basically used like the last year and really figured out. Like, and then so Byron also, when he kind of jumped in, he sent me he's like, here's my key pieces. It's like his key pieces matched my key pieces. So I was
Nice.
like, we're tracking, you know. So we're looking to, the website's actually live. It's DeerHunterGear.com. And I think we mentioned it, obviously, right? Our manufacturer is in Minnesota, so we're doing everything stateside, all American made. I went last week and kind of filmed some of the production stuff. People will get to see the people that are making the behind the scenes and things of that nature. And we're going to have, I think, so the real exciting thing is that I think we're going to have a price point that's going to be at or below the import goods that are coming up. In some cases, people are spending, some of these companies' goods are 800 to 1,000% markup for them to be able to make the money that they need to make that stuff, bring it in, have the whole sales team, yada, yada. We don't have any of that. You're looking at me, him, my wife, and our vendor. And so we're going to keep the cost scaled down the best we can. And I think we're going to have potentially even lower price points on some of our garments than competing garments in the space with some of the big name brands. Which to me, when that was, you know, something that I really wanted to do. And I did to set expectation. We aren't going to have a lot of the, you know, the bells and whistles, and I'm not going to try to sell people on this is the newest, highest tech camo developed by AI, you know, macro software engineers. This is just some real simplistic, going back to that conversation about how our grandfathers and our uncles and stuff did it, right? It's like, they didn't have any of that stuff, man, but we're spoiled. We grew up with it. There's probably a middle ground there. Less is more. Get the real key pieces that you need so that you can be out there and do the thing that you love, and not ever getting chased out of the woods by being uncomfortable.
Yeah.